Hi everybody, and a very warm welcome back to my wildlife art channel. Now today I'm going to be doing an acrylic for you, and it's going to be of this beautiful little kingfisher. So let's roll that intro and let's see how we get on. Hi everybody, and a warm welcome back. Now, as I said just now, I am going to be doing a picture of this beautiful kingfisher for you this afternoon, and it's going to be in acrylics. Now, the picture is not my own reference. It was downloaded from one of these free sites. I will put some details in the show more tab underneath this video, and for my patrons on Patreon to tell you how you can obtain the picture yourself. But on my Patreon, I will have it listed. The reference will be there, and also the line art for it as well, so that you can download it. You don't need to be a patron to do that, but you can download it, have a go at this one yourself, enjoy the process and see how you get on. So without further ado then, I am going to be working in acrylics, and let's get on, and I'll catch you all at the other end of this video. Hey everybody, welcome back. Now before we carry on and actually do the painting itself, let's just talk about some of the things that we're going to be using, including the palette and some of the brushes. Now the image is here for you to see, and that is our beautiful little kingfisher. It's not my own image, I have to say, but it was downloaded, I think, from Pixabay. I will try and find the reference for it and put that at the bottom of this video so you can actually go there and download it yourself for free and use that. Now also, if you want the line art, which is here, that line art along with the reference photo will be over on my Patreon for you to freely download. Now you do not need to be a patron to do that. You simply need to go there and download the two items and use them as you feel fit to have a go at this one yourself. Now I am not going to be using the line art. I'm not doing any drawing. I'm hopefully I say hopefully, I'm going to be going straight in with this one and seeing how I can develop the drawing by direct painting, which is one of my methods, and it's not necessarily a preferred method. It's one that I've learned from doing an awful lot of plein air painting over the years, and it's something that I enjoy doing, pitting myself with the paint instead of a drawing and everything else. But for most of you, I would have to say that by going over and getting the line art and downloading that and setting that up and transferring that to your painting surface will probably be the most beneficial way to make a start on this, and then using the reference photo here, you can then have a go at it and paint your own version. Now what am I painting on today? Well, I'm simply got an old piece of canvas. Now this is just canvas that I've had for a long time. In actual fact, this canvas was part of sheets of canvas that I bought from an old printer, and it is size. It was sort of sized at the time with a type of surface that would accept inks from an inkjet printer. But over the years, I decided, well, I've got this box of canvas, I can't use it for anything else, so I gessoed it. Nothing wrong with that. It's got a mid-tone gesso on it. It has that sort of canvas texture on it. It is canvas, and there's no getting away from that. No. But it was asked of me that I come in closer on our piece of reference material and the painting. So that's what I've actually done for this setup. And so what it means, unfortunately, is I haven't got the palette to hand, but as you can see, my palette is there and all the colors are in it, and I've had this palette. Now this is just well worth saying that a lot of people think that you put a stay wet palette down and you have to go in and throw it all away every so often. Well, every so often is right, you would, but you can keep one of these going for such a long time. Now this is literally about 4 to 5 weeks old. It has not been in the refrigerator keeping it cool. It has been in my studio. Admittedly, we have had some cold nights, but all that said and done, all these paints are still viable, and every time I go to use it I give it a little bit of a damp down, but it just sets everything up ready to start painting. Yes, all of this has been contaminated with colour, but essentially that's dry. It's not going to cause me any problems. I can just start mixing fresh paint here. So my paint is not going to be in this video. I will try as much as I can to give you some idea of what I'm using as I'm using it, but the real emphasis is on the drawing and the construction of this painting and the painting and rendering of this beautiful Kingfisher. Okay everybody, well, before we go any further then, we've done the paint, we've talked about the surfaces, let's just talk about the brushes. Normally in all my paintings I am a steadfast Rosemary and Company fan, and I have been for the past 20 plus years, and that will not change. But a company reached out to me recently and said would I have a look at their brushes and use them in the painting and see what I felt by them. Now this company, I don't even know quite how to say this, if this camera will pick it up happily, but it's a company called Fuumuui. Now obviously it's a Chinese brand, but they have sent me a couple of sets of brushes. One are synthetics, and these can be used, I would have thought you could use them to a point in watercolors, but mainly in acrylic and possibly certainly gouache. And these ones are a set of oil brushes, and these are hogs or hog mimics. They feel very much like they're hogs. I haven't used these ones yet. I will be using them very soon, but they asked would I show them, would I use them, and see how I get on with them. So let's have a look at these. Not going to use all of them, there are far too many in here, and to be fair I would have preferred to have had them in long handle form. But let's just look at and see what we've got. Now we've got small detail brushes. We have a nice rigger, and that will give me as much detail. We have something not quite a rigger, but certainly a small rounded point. We're going to give that a go. And for my own taste, I like a long flat. Now we have filberts and long flats, and I'm going to sort of stick to the two long flats here and there, a long or wider long flat. Now they, in fairness, they do mimic the certainly the shapes and sizes of the ones that I would normally be using in this demonstration, but forgive me Rosemary, I want to show you how these Fuumuui, and I put the full details down underneath the show more tab, so if you want to look into these and maybe get yourself a set based on how I have found them, then by all means, there's nothing in it for me. I'll put the details there, and you're more than welcome to go and purchase some. So let's get on then. Let's talk about what we've got. I'm going to use this sort of small number 4 round, pointy round. It's got a nice shape to it, and I will give you an unbiased feeling about how these work. Now, because I'm working on this slant and the angle of the canvas is slanted towards me and the camera, then I can get away with this small brush. If I was working at an easel, I would like to come back, and of course I need a longer handle brush for doing that. So if you are buying these, see if you can buy maybe a long handled version. I have no idea if that's what they do. But without further ado then, let's get on and let's start planning and plotting our little Kingfisher. I am, as I said earlier, not going to be drawing up any of this image. I'm not going in with a pre-drawn scenario, or am I sketching it now in front of you. I just felt that I wanted to sort of look and see how this may work as a drawing, as regards just going straight in with the paint and just seeing how this works. Now there's something quite exciting about trying to draw something directly in paint without a pencil and without any reference being prior laid down on the media. And I've learned this skill, I suppose, over many years of doing a lot of plein air, where the painting is directly seen and applied with the brush to the board outside. Here I'm sort of pitting myself with the drawing. I have no drawing pre-done, and I'm literally changing all the elements of the bird and altering a line here, altering a size of something there as I move forward. But the paint I start with is very, very thin and it's still wet, so I can remove it if I'm not happy with what I've done. And as I become more familiar with the shapes that I'm drawing, I thicken up the paint, I establish more lines, I'm happy about them being there, and so I apply them. And the more I do this, then the bird starts to literally come out of the paper and gets ready for the next stage, of course, which is painting. So the colours that I am using, of course, are the Acrylics range, and I've turned back to those after many, many years, and I do love their heavy body paints. Now I'm going to put a little bit of ultramarine blue, not too much, and additionally I haven't put any on my palette before, but I'm going to put in a little bit of cerulean blue. So I'm going to put that over to one side out the way, and we're going to dive into that because I think a combination of cobalt, turquoise and cerulean blue are going to really set the vividness up on the bird that we're going to be seeking. So that's good. Let's carry on from where we were. So the first stages of painting is pretty much a block in, and I'm looking at all the beautiful blues to start with. All that lovely dark blue greeny colour of the griselle on the top of the head, the wings, the wing coverts, and then finally just alluding to the beautiful cobalt teal colour and the electric blue colour on this bird. When these are in flight, to see that just flash by you is an awfully beautiful experience. But we are literally just at the start of the process. Let's come in with a bit of orange and a bit of red, and although this is going to look really over the top, and it is completely, I'm going to come in with a bit of blue into that just to kill it off. See how blue and orange, they're complementaries as a rule, but the moment they're mixed together they will kill each other off and become very dull, lifeless as it were, because you've neutralized the power of that beautiful orange color. Or if it were the other way around, you can use an orange into a blue to kill the blue down. So the thing about this orange is I've made it deliberately very dull, a very low key mid-tone, because I don't want the strength in the orange to really jump out at me at this early stage, and I can bring that up as time goes on. As for the background, I'm using pretty much just a sap green with a bit of blue in it and maybe a little bit of black into there just to kill off some of the green chroma. But sap green is quite a transparent color, so you can see the thin paint marks, the brush marks, and you can almost see through the paint itself to the color underneath. But that will change over time. It is just to give me a little bit of an understanding of the relationships of color between the bird and the darker background, and I'm not therefore fighting the mid-tone of the gray color on the canvas. I've gone back in with a bit of that blue color to establish the lights on the head, and I'm also now coming back in with some darker colors to really show off that blue color. The blue, or the lighter blue, only throws out because everything around it is darker. But make sure when you do add additional background marks, they come all the way up to the animal or the figure or the item. Don't go around the item because it will look as though you've simply cut the item out and stuck it to the page. Now I'm starting to add more on the layer. The first layer is down, the blocking is done, and we're looking at adding more and more detail in these beautiful sea green deep blue colors. I love them, they're fantastic. Now the only way you're going to, I feel, really make this sing is to observe your contrast. So many people end up with dead paintings because their contrast has just gone to rack and ruin during the course of the process. And when I say contrast, I'm talking about between lights and dark values within the painting itself. Please make sure that you don't forget those. They're really important, and they will mean the difference between a cracking painting and one that looks a little bit dead and tired. So I'm going to go back in with some more of that green and some of that blue. I want to influence the back of the head here, and I'm going to start coming back in and just popping in some of that sort of grizzle shape that we were putting in earlier. I don't think I did it well enough before to make a great difference, but now hopefully we're going to make more of it in this pass. And that again has got to dry off before we can really go steaming back in and doing a whole lot more to it. Lots of little marks. You may want to use a rigger for this, and by all means go for it. It will deliver a lot finer marks if you feel the need of that control. Once this is dry, we'll probably come back in with more light marks to compensate for all the marks of dark that I put in there. Okay, but we shall wait for that to happen. There's a little grizzle marks through here. As I say to my Patreon students in the full version of this, that everything after that first layer, that initial blocking layer of color, becomes an extra layer, and with extra layer comes a little bit more consideration, a bit more detail, and when that layer is dry you come back in and you add more refinements and more detail. And that's what I'm doing. The 6 parts of the full version over on Patreon goes into this in quite a bit of detail, with every paintbrush mark as it were shown and a full narration to it. So it might be worth you, if you're interested in this one, popping over there and getting involved with the Patreon. Sorry about the plug, but it really is quite integral that as you develop your painting, you start developing the detail, and that comes with successive layers. The one thing that I will say is that when I am painting, I try and not finish one part over another part. You'll see me throughout the whole of this painting bounce around all over the painting itself. I don't just finish the beak and then move on to the top of the head and then move on to the cheek or the eye or the breast or the feathers. I am literally painting over the whole of the painting constantly, looking at it, reassessing it, pushing color, pulling color, making adjustments, and then when that layer is dry, I start to consider what I need to do for the next layer. And this carries on with the whole painting all the way through to its conclusion. But the idea is that if you are painting the whole painting and bringing it along at the same time, then the final brush mark that you put in is really a sum total of all your knowledge to that point. Whereas if you start and finish one bit, then the next bit, you've learned something, and therefore the painting could be a little different at the end. All right, now I'm going to put a bit of white to some of the orange, and I just want to come in here and put some more detail in. Itching to do this, and everything I'm doing now is more detail, more detail, more detail. Just consider more detail each and every time, because that's what you're doing. You're refining the marks you're putting in. You're heading, as it were, to the conclusion of your painting, and that is the addition of more and more detail towards the final highlights you're putting in and bringing the painting to a close. Dry brushing some of this now, especially through here. I don't want big deposits or glazes, just the odd subtle little suggestion of an extra feather or two that's breaking out where it maybe shouldn't do. Not to keep really driving this home, but with every successive layer, it's more and more detail. Now you end up taking longer to do it, and the detail you actually put in, or the paint you apply, is a lot less than the layer before, but you are refining that detail. And I had a lot of fun trying to paint these beautiful little speckles on the feathers coming down the wing. I don't know, if I'm truthful with you, whether I did them justice. I'm still looking at the original now and seeing, do I need to go over those? But they had this very fine ghosting around the edge of the feathers. I didn't quite pull that off. And do I really need to? I don't know, to be honest. I just wanted the idea of those beautiful pinnacles of light down that feather on the wing. But now I'm coming in and I'm putting a lot more detail around the beak, looking at the refinements, bring up a little bit of the chest of the bird underneath where there's a lot of reflected light, and coming in with the reflected light from what could be the water at the base of the bird's rump feathers there. The raw sienna, a little bit of burnt sienna maybe, a little bit more of that turquoise colour. Just want that sort of under the shadow there. Still not getting it. Come on. There we go. Let's get it this time. That's better. I just wanted to suggest where we've got that same throat colour through here, and it does go into a bit more the sort of silhouette colour in here. Picked up a big lump of white there. I didn't mean to do that. Come back in again. Yes, we've got this sort of shadow. Still not nailing it. We will in a minute, I assure you. That's probably closer. At this point I decided that I needed quite a bit more dark underneath that chin and that throat coming down. I actually added a lot more dark to the orange, and that does leave me the choice that I've got to come back and excite that again further in. But I felt that I was leaning towards too many mid-tone colors, and I wanted to put a little stronger dark accents in certain places. And that would then really reveal the light accents as I put them in towards the end. It's keeping that contrast moving, contrast going over the whole painting. So it's, again, I've made a decision. I've changed a slight bit of direction, and I've come back in to reinforce certain things. And that includes those lovely little stipples of light on those feathers. There are so many of them that I really enjoyed them. And I also put a little bit of mauvey reddy colour just behind the wings coming down the side. It's almost like a glistening of the beautiful, I don't know, the sheen on those feathers. And it wasn't all blue, and that little bit of red halfway down there really reflected that light and made that harmony in that blue, or broke up that blue. It really did make the difference on the whole thing. I like that little play on the pinks and the blues here. They work very, very nicely together. Alright, I think enough of that. I may well sort of, in the fullness of time, when I finish this, or at least I think as far as I'm concerned finished it, I may look at it and over the next few days decide, well, I need to do something else here or something else here. But essentially I think we're done. I will, however, come back in. I want to put in some more lights in here, some more blues, some more electricity, as I call it, on these fellas. I'm still not quite happy with the light on the top of that head. It really is a major part of the bird, so it had to be right. I kept adding a bit more blue, a bit more light, then I took a bit of blue away, but I think we got there in the end, and now I'm reinforcing the background. Now you can mitigate some of this thinness of the paint by suggesting other things. You could, hey, for instance, say, for instance, why don't we put in maybe a little bit of a branch through here in the background, so if it's coming down and we've got something going on that we're not too sure about, we can maybe add in the odd selection of marks that could be branches coming through. Reeds, I mean, these birds are after all fishing on the rivers and what have you, and we can get this nice sense of pictorial thing going on with some reeds in the background. We can temper that with some burnt sienna, some raw sienna, and indeed, as I've got here, a little bit of Naples yellow, just to give something a little bit different Catching a little bit of light coming through there. You can add a little bit of detail onto some of these marks if you wish to. Okay, so now, as I said earlier, that I am beefing up the background. It's been left pretty much to last. The bird is done. I'm really happy with that. There's always a time after a painting is finished that I look at it to see if I want to bring anything further and make any other statements. But essentially, I'm really happy with the way the bird looks. But also, I'm strengthening this background. Now, I did say that the green was patchy to start with, and now I'm putting some really rich darker colors and lighter colors just to give an inference of change within the background. And the addition to a few reeds and a few simple lines and marks actually add to the whole composition without being too detailed and making too much of it. The branch itself was simply put in with just a few pale colors and a sense of shadow, and finally the feet to finish. So at that point I think I'm going to leave it alone, but I still want to put in a little bit more light into some of these parts of the head. I'm going to regret it, I know, but I just want to put in the odd little touch. Okay, so we've done the painting. Now what about these brushes, I hear you ask? Well, I've got to say that I really enjoyed using them, and the company is called Fuumuui, or I'm sorry guys, I'm obviously pronouncing it very wrong, but it's Fuumuui. Now all the details to get these brushes in their sets will be in the link underneath this video, so check them out. Would I buy them? Well, personally I wouldn't buy them because I really am happy with my Rosemary & Company brushes. But if you're just starting out and you want a set of brushes that you can swap between watercolor, acrylic and gouache, then these are your guys. And they don't cost that much, but you get a very nice set for your money. And every brush shape is catered for within that set. And I've got to say, it comes in a really nice case as well to keep them all nice and safe. Now, I would also potentially use these for oil. Not every aspect of the oil, but I do use a lot of synthetics in my oil painting, and I would have a set of these if I was starting out just for my oils. I wouldn't mix them with water-based products, but certainly if you bought two sets, one for oil and one for everything else, you wouldn't be going far wrong. But as I said, every shape of brush is catered for, and I think as a starter set when you're first getting going, not a bad plan. So yeah, check them out, and maybe go and grab yourself a set. But thank you guys for sending them to me. They were interesting to use, maybe a little soft for acrylics, but for all the other media, perfect. So yeah. Okay everybody, one little Kingfisher painted in acrylics. Now I know it was quite a long video, unless of course you're watching this on YouTube, and then it was quite a short video. But whichever way you're watching it, whether you're watching the edited version here on YouTube, or indeed whether you're watching it here on Patreon as a full-length tutorial, I hope you got something from it. I hope you enjoyed the process. I had a lot of fun with it, but there again, I always do. All I need to do is paint and I'm happy. And to create a lovely bird in wildlife, certainly something as a jewel like a kingfisher is always a treat. So I'm going to say to you that don't forget, if you are watching this on YouTube, there is the full version of this over on my Patreon. It doesn't cost you much to get involved. It's $10 a month. You get all the back catalogue of all my paintings, the vast majority are watercolour, but all the new ones coming out are wildlife, whether it be oil, watercolour, acrylic, pastel or any other medium. So if you want to get involved to see more wildlife being painted in different mediums, I'm your man. Get over there, take a look and enjoy yourself. And as I say, it's only $10 a month. I love to have you on board as my latest Patreon. With all that said and done, I am going to start thinking about what I'm going to do next for a video for you guys. And I'm also thinking about one or two other aspects of my operation when it comes to painting. And one of those is doing more over on my Podia with courses, with free downloads. So if you want to get on over there and join my art community, where like-minded people who want to learn to paint, want to do more, are getting involved and joining that community and getting access not only to paid courses but a heap load of free stuff as well. So get involved with that over there. All the links to that will be under this video, along with the Patreon and everything else. So with that all said and done, I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm going to get on and let you guys get on. More importantly, thanks for your company. I see each of you in the next video. Take care, stay safe wherever you are, and enjoy your painting above all. Take care. Bye bye.